In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a simple AI automation that takes a list of email customers inside Google Sheets, uses ChatGPT to analyze it, and then send out highly personalized emails based on their purchase history. And we're going to do this using these simple Google Sheets, ChatGPT, and Gmail built on make.com. And make is a no code automation tool. You can get access to their highest paid plan for free inside our Skool community. The link is in the description. And without further ado, let's jump right in. So let's get started. We're going to create a new Google Sheet and call it customer email list. You can give it any name you'd like, but mainly we're going to add these column headers of email, first name, last purchase, purchase history, support tickets, and website behavior. And what we're going to do is we're going to have this data filled in, and we're going to use AI to predict which of these segments do they fall in. Are they tech enthusiasts, budget conscious, premium buyers, or inactive users? And so we're going to create this Google Sheet. We're going to add sample rows to it. And let me do that right now. So we've got our first row with the headers, and this is all of our data. One cool thing to know here is you can use this plus tech or plus any word basically, and this will still deliver emails to the same original email. So in my case, now I have this adri.automates@gmail.com, but if I add a plus tech plus budget plus any word after my original email but before the at the rate sign, it will still get delivered to the original email. Okay, so with that being said, and let us come back to our instructions, and we're going to create a new scenario with this iterator concept, which is the main concept we're going to learn as to how do we go through each row from our Google Sheets, not just one at a time, but even if we had bulk data, how to go through all of it simultaneously and then run that through our automation. So next up, we're going to select and add a Google Sheets trigger. So if I come into my Google Sheets, I have this Google Sheet set up with the columns, email, first name, and all of the data. And now we're going to add that to our make automation. So if I come in here, I select the Google Sheets module. I choose my account connection, select from my drive, and the spreadsheet ID is demo3. The sheet name is sheet 1. Table contains headers, yes. And now what we are going to do is set the limit to 10 and save this module. Okay, so we have that set up. So next up, we're going to set up our iterator, and this is going to go through each record in our sheet line by line. So if I come in here, go to next module, add an iterator, and in this array, we're basically just going to select all the values we need. So we're going to have an email followed by the first name, last purchase history, last purchase history, support tickets, and website behavior. We're going to click save, and now if we quickly save this, it gives us this warning, but we can save it anyway, and we will run it anyway. And now can you see that our Google Sheets has run? Okay, we have this output of all this data. You can see the first row, the second row, the third row, the fourth row. And in our iterator, if we check the output, you can see operation 1 has all of this data, operation 2 has this data, operation 3 this data, and operation 4 has all of this data. So we can obviously format it actually and make it look a little better. So for example, maybe we format it like this, email first name, last purchase, purchase history, support tickets, and website behavior. Okay, and now if we click save and just run this again. Okay, so now if I come in here and check, you can see that all of our data from the Google Sheet has been split row by row, and the data is formatted and looks a lot cleaner. So that's what we can see here. We have our first row, second row, third row, and fourth row. Beautiful. Next up, we are going to set up our ChatGPT AI analysis module. So if I come in here and I choose ChatGPT OpenAI create a completion, we will set this up with our OpenAI connection, which we've done before. We're going to, if you haven't done it, you can add a new credential by just entering a name and your API key, and that is it. So we choose the model. So we're going to choose the 3.5 turbo. Max completion tokens, you can set that to 500. And now we're going to add our prompt. So if I come back in here, we're going to choose our system prompt. This is the role we're going to assign the AI. So that's what it's going to do. We're basically telling it that you are a customer segmentation expert. Analyze this customer data and assign one segment: tech enthusiast, budget conscious, premium buyer, or inactive user. And then for the message, which is going to be the user prompt, we're going to copy this across. We're going to select the user role, and for text content, we're going to replace these values. So for the customer, we're going to give it the first name. For last purchase, drag that in. Purchase history, you can also just click on it. Support tickets and website behavior. Okay, and then we give it the prompt: respond with only segment and the segment name, reason, and priority. So we save that, we save our workflow, and with that we have now our OpenAI model set up. And now next up, we're going to add our text processing, which is a new concept we haven't done here before. So we're going to come into tools, add a text parser, and use the match pattern. So if I come in here, I add text parser, we're going to say match pattern. And for the pattern, we're going to copy this across. And okay, so basically what this is going to do, and I will show you in a second, is if you remember in our last AI prompt here, when the AI responds with this, a segment, a reason, and a priority, basically what our next model is doing is it looks for this pattern. Where does it find segment with a colon after it? And what it finds is what it's going to grab and basically like save it in a variable for us to use. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But this is like a regular expression pattern that it uses. You don't have to know what regular expressions are, but basically this is how the node identifies what we're going to be extracting from our AI's response, saving it, and then processing it in a subsequent module. So now if I come in here and I add a new module and I use the set variable, I call this, let's give it a name. So say we are using the segment, and the value of this is going to be the value that comes from our text parser. I'm just going to save this and quickly run this model, this automation, to show you how that works. So to show you how this automation works, we're going to run it quickly. So we have our Google Sheets, which had 4 records in it. So our Google Sheet, if we check here, This was our input and our output of all the rows. If we check our iterator has each of the four rows in here. Okay, our chat GPT model ran. So for each of them, so for the first row, what if we look at the messages, this was the input. So we gave it our system input along with some context. We then gave it the customer data. And now if we look at the response, so the response for the first row is that its prediction is that this customer John, is a tech enthusiast, because actually, if you see, his last purchase was a software license, and his support tickets are technical integration questions. They also give you the reason here, because that's what we asked the AI for, right? We asked it for a segment, a reason, and a priority. So the reason is John's purchase history, support tickets, and frequent visits to documentation indicate a strong interest in technology and software development. Beautiful. If we check it for the second row, the second, Sarah's purchase history, indicates, if we look at the response actually, yeah, purchase history, support tickets, and website behavior indicate a focus on budget friendly options and seeking discounts. Because if in the messages, you remember from the data we had in our Excel sheet, for Sarah, it's budget friendly. She usually asks about discount questions and looks for discounts on the website. So again, the AI has done a fantastic job of predicting that this customer is likely budget conscious. The third would be a premium buyer, because again, from our data in the Excel sheet, we can see that Lisa has last bought the premium plan. She looks for more exclusive offers in her support tickets and just attends webinars probably about them. So again, the AI got that right. And lastly, if we look at Nina's, it is, she asks quarterly billing, frequent access to integration guides, strong interest in technology and automation. So that's why Nina has also been labeled as a tech enthusiast. So now basically what happens is we have these variables and this segmentation done of each customer email, and we know what type of customer they are. So what we may end up doing, which is the rest of this tutorial that we're working on, is now we're going to next add a text parser, which we've just completed. And now we're going to next add an aggregator. So we're going to combine all this data back together. We're going to structure the response as an email, name, segment, and priority. And then what we are eventually going to do is add conditional logic with a router, and based on what type of customer they were, whether tech enthusiast, budget conscious, premium buyer, or inactive, we're going to send specific emails out to them. So for a tech enthusiast, we might send an email like, these are new features you love. For a budget conscious customer, we may say send them special discounts. For a premium buyer, we may send them exclusive premium features. And for an inactive user, we might send them some sort of reactivation campaign or reactivation email to bring them back into our system. Okay, so now that we've learned how to use the text parser to basically take any output from, say, ChatGPT or an AI model, and then, say, extract some information out of it, and then save that in a variable, what we now want to do is, I just want to introduce you to this concept of an aggregator. And what an aggregator does is it's like the reverse of an iterator. So where an iterator splits out data, and from bulk data you go to line by line data, an aggregator joins them back together. So if we come back to our instructions now here, an aggregator will basically, like, if we want this target structure of just the name, email, and segment in one kind of data object, we'd use an aggregator to do that. And so if we come back into make, and this is a completely optional module here, but I just want to introduce you to the concept of what an aggregator is. So if I come into the aggregator module, I'm going to choose the source module as our last module here, the set variable. And then I'm going to choose what fields I want. So first I want the set variable segment that we extracted. Then I want the name and the email. So I'm going to come down to name, email, hit save. And yep. So now if I was to run this automation, and one thing that I may have forgotten to save or update in this is for the text parser, you have to include the result from the GPT output here. Click save, and run this automation. Okay, and now we can see the data flowing through. So here, if we come into our output of the GPT module, you can see that our output contains the segment, reason, priority. If we come into the text parser, it also shows the segment, reason, and priority. And here in our set variable, it shows the segment, the what is being set, the tech enthusiast. And now if we come to our aggregator, we will see that it contains the email, the name, and the segment. Okay, and now if we come back to our instructions, we're next going to add an iterator to process this grouped data and use conditional logic using a router and accordingly send out emails. So the purpose of this is to teach you how to use a router and to have conditional logic. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at each row of our data, and based on what the AI classified each customer as. So if they're a tech enthusiast, we're going to send them one type of email. If they're budget conscious, we're going to send them a second type, premium buyer third type, and if they're an inactive user, the fourth type. So let's jump right in and set that up. So if we come back to our automation, so first we're going to add a router. First we have to add an iterator and then a router. So if we come back in here, add new module, like iterator, the array is going to be the array from what we just grouped. We will then introduce a router. We will add 4 routes, one for each of the types of emails we had. So for the, and then you come in here, click on this banner icon, click on set up a filter. You can label it. You can set a fallback condition. This is like a fallback route, as they mentioned, is a backup route that is used if the source data didn't go through any other route. And each router can only have one fallback route. So here we will come in and we will set the condition that if the segment from our array, sorry, this is the, and yeah, so what we will do is we will choose that if the segment coming out of our iterator is equal to tech enthusiast, we are going to send them one type of email. So that's what we're going to set up. So if I come in here, Gmail, send an email, to whom do we want it to go to, that we're going to set up here. So that's going to be email. The subject is going to be hey, first name. Okay, so the subject is going to be here, we have it in here. We're going to come in and replace the name with first name, and the content we're going to be like hi, first name. So here you can also include your break tags to make sure that it's neatly formatted. And the technical content, you can basically make it whatever you want to include. Or if you wanted, you could probably include another AI module to generate that technical content, or it can just be static content, because at the end of the day, this email is just informing tech enthusiasts about new features you think they'd like. So we are going to come in and save this. And if I click save, that is set up. Next, we're going to set up the filter for our budget conscious, sorry, for the condition, it's going to be the segment is equal to budget conscious. For the third, it's going to be segment is equal to premium buyer. And for the fourth, it's going to be for segment is equal to inactive user, and save. And now we are going to set up the Gmail modules. So to you add the email, subject is going to be this. Same for the third. And lastly for the fourth. And this is how like you can use such simple automations to set up like a segmented and highly personalized email as well, because you're using information you have about them, you're including their names in these subjects, and it just speeds up the whole process. So yeah, and so now we set up the fourth email. We enter the email, the subject, the content, and save. Just make sure we have all the right values in there. Oops, here we have email name instead of email, so that is set. Email, and done. Beautiful. We will save this automation. And now what we will do is save and run this automation. So can you see the first one went here, the second one went here, the third one went here, and the fourth one went here. So if you look at these counters here, you can see the 2 1 1. So if we just zoom back, so if you zoom back out, so if we come back to first our Excel sheet process the data, we got each row, then as bulk data, then we used an iterator to split that data out into single rows. Then we used ChatGPT to make predictions about what type of customer, what customer segment we think that is, and also give us a reason. We use the text parser to extract specific data out of the response using regular expressions. Then we used a set variable field to set that segment value. We used an array aggregator to group that data back together. And then we used an iterator to process it out line by line. And if you're probably wondering, yes, you could have probably skipped these two modules here because we already had an iterator and the data was being processed individually. But the purpose of including these here was just to show you the concept of what an aggregator does. So then we set up the aggregator followed by an iterator to split that data back out and just ensure we're processing it row by row. We added a router after that, which is our conditional logic. We set up our filters saying if the segment is a tech enthusiast. So can you see for the first row, it marked it as true. The second, it was false. Third, false. And fourth, true. And so this email would have gotten sent out. Now, if we come over to my inbox, can you see we have 4 new emails? So 2 were for the tech enthusiasts for John and the technical content. This was the special savings for Sarah. I think we didn't include the name parameter in these, which we need to update. So if I come back real quick to this automation here, we forgot to update the name. Hit save, and here as well. So just to summarize everything we learned here, we learned a lot. First, we learned how to use Google Sheets to have bulk data come through, split that bulk data out and analyze it row by row. That's what we use the iterator for. Then we added intelligence with ChatGPT to make like predictions on what type of customer we think that is. We used a text parser to extract specific results we want from the GPT response. We used a set variable node to set that variable into a particular variable name. Then we used an array aggregator to combine all of that data back together. And here, if you're probably wondering, we are combining data back with an aggregator and then splitting it back out using an iterator. Could we have skipped this step? Absolutely. But the point of introducing the aggregator was so that you know how to combine data back together, and you can refine your data objects and have like a cleaner response. So that's what we use the aggregator for. Then we split that data back out again using an iterator so that we process it row by row. We added a router after it to use conditional logic to basically check if the type or if the segment of the customer is a tech enthusiast, a budget friendly, and so on. So we use the router to check conditional logic and accordingly send out hyper specific emails out based on who our customers might be, what their behavior was like. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.